Hi guys, it's Nasomatto. How's everyone doing? Jolly, festive and merry, I hope. So today I'm here to talk about Black Afgano by Nasomatto, a fragrance that continuously crops up in my universe. I hear it in my job all the time, I read about it on forums, my interest has been piqued for a long time, but I kind of avoided it as it's centered around oud. So I managed to try it and I got myself a sample and I've worn it now, so I want to tell you about the way I think it smells. So I don't know if there's been a reformulation. The reviews I've watched and read, because I do read and watch reviews too, talk about quite a few nuances that I don't really get from whatever version I have, which is the newest one that's available now. So let me tell you the notes and then I'll tell you how I think it smells. So this fragrance came out 10 years ago. Yes, I'm late to the party. I just like to review things as and when. Also, I hope you guys are having a lovely festive season. I am. So this fragrance came out 10 years ago, like I said, and I think it gets talked about quite a bit because the way it was marketed, it's meant to evoke feelings of cannabis, which I won't go too much into, but it's a dark fragrance. They come in these little 30ml bottles, they're extra strength, so they're quite potent, excuse me. And they're a really cool brand. They don't release things too often, so they kind of focus on what they do. They still only have quite a small selection or library of fragrances, shall we say. But this one is definitely the most popular and the most talked about one, so I wanted it to be the first of theirs that I review. So the notes are cannabis, green notes, whatever that is, resins, woody notes, coffee, tobacco, incense and oud. And that's kind of vague. What resins, what woods? Fragrantica mentions rosewood, which I do feel like I can feel in here. It's a dark wood, but it's been drying on this hand for a good few hours and I'm going to spray it wet on this hand. This is probably the 5th or 6th time that I've tried this on my skin, and to me it's surprising. Looking at this perfume, it's dark, black, liquid, it's centered around cannabis, it's oud, it's kind of looks a little bit intimidating, I think, and when you read the reviews and things, and you hear about this coffee and tobacco and everything, I expected something else, but to me, what's most surprising about this is it's actually quite a soft fragrance. It opens very, very soft. I feel like it's a definite oud fragrance, so that's the main crux of the fragrance here, but it feels like it's sitting in soft florals, and more importantly, or more obviously, something like violet. It feels like, not like a super violet fragrance, but it feels like what violet offers to a fragrance when it's contained within it, you know? It's got this soft, almost fluffy feeling all around the edges, and it feels like it really, not dampens, what's the word? It kind of blankets what would be quite an aggressive oud fragrance. So at first, it's almost fluttery and soft, but also feels dark. It's a bit juxtaposed in that way. I expected this explosion of really deep dark resins and brooding, heavy, extra strength juice. But this has a really beautiful elegance about it. It's just totally unexpected. Like I said, from the reviews that I read from back when it came out, a lot of people mentioned a coffee note. They mentioned this cannabis thing. I don't know if that is the power of suggestion. I live in London and I smell cannabis all the time, on the street, everywhere I go. It's just everywhere, unfortunately. But I don't get that. This is actually powdery in a strange way. It's soft. There's something underneath that feels like it's waiting to burst out. It feels like it's gonna take you to a dark place, and it kind of does when it dries, but the opening is pleasant, and it's like oud sitting in a cocoon of soft, almost violet, or something along those lines, like a very gentle, purpley, floral type feeling. And most people might disagree, but that's what I get from it. It's so well blended, it's all together very smooth. Even though you can feel many layers and many levels, it's kind of seamless in the way that it smells, and it's very well crafted. I can see why it's the most popular one from this brand and why it still gets talked about now, and people still ask me in my job, do you have this fragrance? You know, I want to smell it. And I'm glad that I got to try this because I can see myself wearing this. I think it's a good gateway into oud fragrances, and this is a good gateway into me talking about the oud that's contained in here. So ouds can go in so many different directions. They can be super medicinal, super skanky, overpowering, overbearing, and these soft notes really contain it so perfectly. It's every scary facet that oud has taken down a couple of notches and just made really wearable. It's dark enough without being obnoxious or scary, and I think that's a really cool thing. If you can tame oud in a fragrance like they have in this fragrance, then I think that's a testament to the perfumer. Sometimes I feel like it could even have orris in here. You know, that smooth, buttery, almost makeup-like powdery feeling that orris gives you in a fragrance. I feel like it's a hidden note, like it's not mentioned in this one, but violet orris and then an underlying darkness. I wish I smelled coffee and tobacco. I think it might have been a really cool addition to this, but to me it's fine how it is. I mean, I'm happy with it. If you like your ouds on the softer side, which doesn't happen too often, maybe try this one out. There's an almost aromatic quality to it, but don't think sparkle aromatic, don't think kind of vibrant green. It's really placed far in the background and you have to reach for it, but I can feel an aromatic sort of feeling there. So it does touch on greenery, which I guess is their nod to what cannabis might be. I don't know what they've put in here that makes it aromatic, but that's one tiny slice of what you smell when you smell it, but it is there. But in the air, it's extremely soft. Shocked. So when you get to the dry down, and it does take quite a while to develop this one, it takes probably about 4, I would say even 6 hours to develop and change. It doesn't change massively, but Fragrantica mentions rosewood, and I think it's worth mentioning because rosewood is quite an aggressive wood. It's one of the darkest, I think, heaviest, almost herbal smelling woods, and it's almost like the oud in here is in a tug of war with the rosewood. So sometimes it feels more rosewoody and sometimes it feels more oudy, and it stays soft still. It never goes too medicinal, because oud is known for sometimes smelling like band-aids or mushrooms or just earth, because essentially it is rot. It's the rot of the agarwood tree, so it's an unpleasant thing, but used in the right amount it becomes beautiful, kind of like butyric acid. And the dry down sees this fragrance intensify a little bit more. The powderiness goes away, and then the wood that is stuck on your skin for the longest time is actually allowed to shine, because it is a woody fragrance. And here it's a bit more intense, less powdery, and this is where it starts to feel more like an oud fragrance, because at first it kind of didn't. But I really like it. It's sophisticated, it's kind of classy, and it's an oud done in a way that isn't a typical thing, you know? There's no rose in here, there's not that typical rose oud thing that you find on every street corner. Really nice, soft, almost suede-y, a little bit leather-like as well. It's almost like you could stroke it, and it's got a texture. No fragrance has ever made me say that, but this one does. Anyway, this fragrance, in terms of longevity, is a great one. This one still lasts 12, 13, even longer on the back of my hand when I've tested it. Longer on neck and in crooks of arms. But on the back of the hand, which is kind of a dry area of skin, still great longevity. Anyway guys, if you want to get this fragrance, head on over to notino.co.uk. They sell it there. I will post a direct link below. For now, I'm Afgano, trying to make the world smell better, one video at a time. Goodbye.